Assalam alaykum. Welcome. Today I'm very happy to share my story with you about why I became a Muslimah. And in order to do that, I need to go back even earlier to tell you the whole story. When I was a child, I was raised in a Catholic family and I went to Catholic schools throughout my whole entire life. It was a very nice community and active, and I went through all of the sacraments and did everything and really established a good relationship with God. And my family members are all in the same religious belief. After that time, I went to the university, and during university time, I was struggling a lot. I had a lot of emotional upheaval, and it was a really difficult transition in my early 20s. I was looking around and reading a lot of books, trying to find guidance. And at that time, I found a book called The Course in Miracles. This book is a large book, and in the back of it, it has a workbook. It's called 365 Lessons. And basically, it recommends that you go through each lesson per day. And essentially, it's a meditation practice where you sit and you try to connect with your creator directly. I started doing this in 2001, and I kept doing it again and again. I went through the workbook approximately three or four times over the course of 7 years, and I really benefited a lot from it. It taught me how to calm down inside, and it teaches a lot about detaching from this world and trying to connect with your creator. As I was coming towards the end of that, I was feeling a bit of a restlessness in my heart, like wanting to go on to something else. And so I was open at that time, and it was around 2008. I had to switch jobs, and when I went to this job, I met a man who later became my husband. This is how I was first exposed to Islam. I had only met a couple of Muslims prior to that, and those were all very good experiences. But when I met him, we became friends, and his parents came to visit America. We were living in San Diego, and I was going to graduate school in San Diego at that time. When his parents came to visit, I was thinking that we will take them for seeing the ocean and all the tourist things that we take people to do when we host guests in San Diego. But what I was surprised to find out is they just had to pray all the time. So whenever we were planning to go do something, they said, no, we have to say our prayers first. We have to say our prayers first. This was the first thing that really caught my attention, is they were praying all the time. And then the second thing was that on Friday, they wanted to go to the mosque for the Jummah prayer. I said, okay, let's take them. And his mother showed me how to wrap the hijab, and we went to the mosque. And that was the first time that I had heard a khutbah. During their visit, they stayed about a month and a half, and every Friday we were taking them for the Jummah prayer. And through that, I was exposed to the Muslim community of San Diego and the Sheikh and Imam. I went with them, and I really started enjoying the talks and liking it. After they left, I just suggested that we keep going to this. And so we kept going to mosque. And over the course of the next 9 months, I started reading and studying and everything with my husband. And the great thing was that when we decided that we were going to get married, we went to the mosque and talked to the imam. And he said that you really don't need to convert to Islam in order to get married. When we got married, I had not converted at all. And it was after the marriage that we started studying together and reading everything together. And we began our journey in Islam. That was a really beautiful time. But the reasons that I went through this process, and like I said, it took about 9 months of really deep dive studying to convince myself to become Muslim. And I listened to a lot of videos and books like Hamza Yusuf and different sheikhs that were really popular at that time. But the things that convinced me, number one, is that I had developed a belief that to worship you need to have a direct connection. And I had found that through this meditation practice, but I had not found that in the Catholic religion, because in that religion they often pray to intercessories, like they pray to Mary or they pray to saints. And it was really comforting to me that the prayer style in Islam was a direct connection to God. This was the first thing that was very important to me. But the second reason was it also felt very comforting because Islam had the whole history of the religion. So all the things I grew up learning when I was a child about the stories of the prophets and those times and those places, those were all present in Islam. And this really gave me a lot of comfort. The next few is that I found Islam really had a strong moral and ethical guide on how to live your life, which is not really present in meditation or New Age practices. When you look at Islam from the outside in and you start asking questions, I found that it simply has an answer to everything. It has an answer to how to earn money in a halal way. It has an answer how to save money, who to give charity to. Everything about the day-to-day life and everything about the big questions in life also. I found answers are very clear. This was really a good reason, and it helped me acquire the faith. I was pretty well convinced. As you can see, it fit well from where I had come from in my past with a Catholic upbringing and a meditation practice. It really kind of had it all in my mind. This was my perception. I only got hung up on one item, and that was the afterlife. I know this is a big item, so it's very important. But the question is, what happens after we die? This is a really important question that we all have to answer for ourselves. And in my past, I had come up with two different answers, because in the Catholic religion, you go through a judgment and you will go to heaven or hell. But in this New Age meditation practice that I was deeply involved with, it didn't have that understanding. It had the understanding that we came from our Creator, we had an experiential life, and then after we would go back to our Creator. But there wasn't like a day of judgment per se. So I had to grapple with this question for a little while. But my husband is very knowledgeable in the religion and spirituality, and he talked with me about it and explained that it has to be, logically, it has to be this way, because when we were put here with free will, and we have the choice to choose to do good or choose to do bad. And so we are all making different choices. There must be an accountability for those choices at the end. And after that, alhamdulillah, he convinced, and then I said my shahada and became Muslim in 2009. Now I have been living as a Muslim for many, many years, and I was in California for several of those years. Like I said, I had a great experience when I was accepted into the community in San Diego, and there was a nice group for new Muslims there and some really nice ladies that helped me with the transition to a life that's more modest and a life that's more honest. There's many different aspects of the religion that you need to change when you become a Muslim. But I took a very slow approach. I didn't go and push myself to do everything perfect from the beginning. If I have to say one thing I've observed new Muslims or revert Muslims is that they have very high expectations of themselves, that they should do everything perfect and do it from the beginning. And I never felt that way. So I took it slow, and I've always just tried to do the best that I can and adopt as many of the things and focus on really the big things in Islam and try to do that the best I can. It really changed my faith. There was another phase of it, is that in 2013, we moved to Saudi Arabia, and we have been living in Saudi Arabia since then, and I have had some really amazing religious, spiritual, cultural experiences over this time period. And this is precisely why I have decided to make a YouTube channel for telling you all about this. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the story.